Welcome back. Today we're going to take a quick look at the BLON BL-07. So first I want to thank Keep Hi-Fi for sending this BLON to me. If you look today on their store, it is about $45, and that does include the best sounding color, which is purple, and I do have a pair of purple BL-03s as well. But that is a joke for those of you who are curious. The purple and the silver and gray all do sound identical, but the purple blondes actually are my favorite, and they're sort of special additions to me. So there you go. On the side, you get the kind of familiar WGZ blonde. This is the left one, BL-07. So the nozzle, they sort of went back to a thinner, smaller style nozzle. I think on the last one, it was actually a little bigger nozzle, and I think they've kind of gone back and forth on nozzle sizes, but this one is kind of on the thinner side as well, kind of more in the style of BL-03. So, but kind of attractive shell, and I remember looking at the marketing pictures originally, and it looks quite chunky. And they showed a female with I think smaller ears, and this tended to look pretty huge in her ears, but in my ears, it's kind of not all that bad. It's not that as chunky as it looked in the marketing pictures. So the stock cable, I think, is one of the familiar ones. We've seen this one once or twice. So not the old stringy BL-03. This one is a nicer, upgraded SPC cable. So not all that bad. Packaging is nothing too special there. So let's jump into it and walk through this pretty quickly. So number one, the purple shell looks and fits better than the pictures do. Like I said, I don't know. I'm not sure why they made it look the way they did in the marketing pictures, but you sort of got this view of it in her ear, and it looked like the whole shell was kind of sitting outside and huge, but in person, not all that bad. Sound-wise, this one is definitely for your V-shaped fans. It's even more V-shaped than maybe BL-03 and some of the other blondes that have come after. For me, it definitely hits electronic music for that reason. So what does it sound like other than V-shape? So when we look at the graph, you kind of get back to the familiar BL-03. So BL-07 kind of knocks down the bass just a little bit, and it goes into this kind of steep V point here at about 1K-ish. And then instead of doing what BL-03 did, which is a very likable sound, they made this pin gain even more reduced than BL-03, so even more or less fatiguing than BL-03, but then they bumped out the upper treble to make up for this. So pretty wacky. I'm not sure what they were thinking there, but that's what it is. So that's what the graph looks like. So what does the bass sound like? It's lots of it, but really hard to find any detail. And anytime you kind of bump out the mid bass, and those of you who have BL-03, you'll sort of recognize this big bump, and some people don't like it to bump out that much, but from Harman, it's quite a bit bumped out. They took the sub bass down a little bit, so it's more centered over here instead of back here where BL-03 was, but the gist of it is there's still quite a bit of bass, and it's not all that detailed. It's not super fast. It's kind of pretty average for the price. So the mids, like I said, they did a pretty wacky job on the mids. It literally sounds like they buried them. They're quite muffled. They lack dynamics. Yeah, and as I said, this rise is even a very non-fatiguing level, but at the same time, that really kills a lot of your dynamics, and especially in the female vocals, they definitely come across as non-fatiguing, yet sort of on the dull side. So yeah, pretty strange thing what they did to the mids. The treble, like I said, the lower, you get this really low level, and then all of a sudden you'll hear the claps and some of the cymbals and some of these higher frequency things bump up with the boost in the upper treble. And so lots of bass, lots of upper treble, everything in the middle. It's your pretty typical heavy V-shaped sound. This is quite recessed, but if you're an electronic fan, you get lots of stuff on either edge, and you'll be happy with that. But yeah, not my favorite blonde, not my favorite signature. This one does some weird things in the trebles. Like I said, it's kind of low and then it bumps higher. There's a bunch of sibilance at that 8K peak, and then that's kind of followed up by some boosted upper treble that's a little bit over boosted. So yeah, I'm not going to go on too much about and nitpick this thing. It's $45 and probably not my favorite blonde, and I do look forward to what they come up with next. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time.